What's going on, everyone? It's Brody Taylor back again to answer one of the questions about tennis that you probably didn't think about, but is really a very important thing to know. And that is going to be the answer to the question, is there actually a difference between tennis balls? And the answer, as you can probably guess, is yes. Now, let me explain what I mean. So in tennis, there's really going to be two main types of tennis balls. You have extra duty tennis balls, and then you have regular duty tennis balls. So extra duty tennis balls, these tennis balls have more felt on them, so they last longer. And if you're here in North America, these are pretty much the ones that we primarily use because they last longer and they have more felt, but we have a lot more hard courts, which is essentially almost concrete and a mixture of that here in North America. So that's one of the reasons why we predominantly use extra duty balls, as well as I just like to recommend them because they last longer. So of course you want the balls to last as long as possible, so you don't have to keep going out and buying balls every other day if you play that much. But that's the main thing with extra duty balls. Extra duty balls are also used on the men's professional tennis circuit, being the ATP. All the men's tournaments will, I believe, use the extra duty balls unless the tournament has a specific ball made for that specific tournament. I know Roland Garros has one. I don't remember exactly if that's an extra duty or regular duty, but I believe that is a regular duty because regular duty balls are used on clay since they don't have as much felt, so they don't absorb the clay as much. So that's one of the main things about regular duty balls, especially outside of North America. Clay courts are not as prominent here. Outside of North America, in Europe and everywhere else throughout the world, a lot of the times you're going to see a clay court there because that's what they've grown up with. That's easier for them to make it, and it's usually a red clay, sometimes a green clay, usually red, those kind of like the standard. But the red clay with the tennis ball, the tennis ball doesn't absorb the clay as much, so it doesn't stick to it, making the ball a lot heavier, so it's harder to hit for the players, as well as can cause a lot more damage because people aren't used to it. As well as the regular duty ball also tends not to last as long because of the extra felt, but it's played on a surface that is not necessarily going to ruin the ball as fast. Clay courts are extremely nice and extremely soft for both the player and the ball as well. So that's a great reason for having the extra duty versus regular duty tennis ball split. Now, regular duty tennis balls, they can still be used on hard courts. It's just that they don't last as long, so not as many people prefer that. However, they are also softer because they don't have as much felt, which means that the regular duty balls are also going to not cause as much arm issues or vibrations when you play with them. So if you have a very stiff racket, or if your strings tend to cause a lot of vibrations that go back to your arm, sometimes using a regular duty ball can help alleviate some of those problems. So that's one thing to consider and keep in mind when you're going to purchase your next case or can of tennis balls. Now, because regular duty balls don't have as much felt as extra duty balls, they do tend to go dead quicker, like I may have already mentioned. And so you just have to decide which one you would rather trade. Would you rather have a extra duty ball which has more felt on it and lasts longer, or a regular duty ball that doesn't last as long or doesn't have as much felt on it, but it's going to be easier on your arm? It's up to you. It's based off where you are going to be playing, what surface you're going to be playing on, what your racket does, and just what you prefer. Because some people that I know that I personally play with, they'll buy regular duty balls all the time. They've played with extra duty. They don't care for them. They just like regular duty better, and that's completely fine. Tennis is one of those sports where it's almost personally about customization. It's up to you. Regular duty balls, as a quick side note, because I did mention this with the extra duty, Regular duty balls are the standard tennis ball that is used on the women's professional tour, the WTA. So almost any professional women's tournament that you see, it's going to be using regular duty balls. Almost any professional men's tournament that you see, it's going to be using extra duty balls. Don't ask me why. That is just what they do. And I know that from talking to people who run tournaments and just other players that are professionally playing that I've talked to throughout my career. One such being Andre Rublev himself, who's currently playing. That was a nice conversation that we had together. Now, other than that, you will hear about different types of tennis balls, especially for juniors. There are a few different levels to that. There is the starter tennis ball, which doesn't really look like a tennis ball. Some can, most don't. It's just like a giant foam ball. And that one is because it's for the youngest player you can think of that can actually start playing and hold a racket. They need as big of a ball as they can get so that they can hit it with their tiny racket and get it over. It's also, like I said, it's foam, so it's not gonna hurt them. And then you go up one level from that, you have an orange dot. You have a tennis ball with an orange dot. It's not as compact as a regular tennis ball, so that it's still not as hard, so it's easier for the players to hit with and just to hit over, as well as the orange dot on it. This is when you can start adding spin into a player's game, because they can actually see the rotation of the ball that they hit. After orange dot, you go to green dot. You're pretty close to the regular tennis ball. The green dot's just the weird in-betweens. Like you graduate from this, but you may not necessarily be ready for the regular tennis ball. So green dot, it's there. Yeah. Some people go straight from orange dot to regular. Some people go from red to green dot. Some people go wherever else they want to go. Some people just have their kids start playing with the regular tennis ball right away. It's up to you. There are some recommendations, but you don't have to follow them. It's up to you. And that's one of the things about tennis, where it's just like, you can do whatever you want almost. As long as you stay within the rules, you're good. Other than that, that's pretty much the main things with tennis balls. Well, there's one more thing. You really don't necessarily need to look into these unless for some reason you have a ball machine, but not many people have a ball machine just lying around, or if you belong to a tennis club, they may have some, but there's balls that are known as pressureless balls. Those are just balls that are almost designed to go into a ball machine itself, just to be fed at you constantly, so that you can just keep practicing your strokes for hours upon hours upon hours. They don't necessarily last as long. If you play an official tournament, you're never going to use them. So you might as well just use a regular duty ball instead, because you'll get a better response as long as the ball machine allows for it. But other than that, those are really going to be the main differences between tennis balls. If you have any more questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down in the comments section. I will get back to them and answer them as fast as I can, as well as like the video if you got any value from this. Share it with a friend who is who is either getting into tennis, or if you found something relevant to them, share it with them so that they can learn the differences between tennis balls as well. Like I said, if you have any more questions, comments, or concerns, leave a comment down below, as well as subscribe to this channel if you got any value today, because it's my job to get the information that is out there and go through all the misinformation, get rid of it, and let you know what's actually going on and what you actually need to know about the great sport of tennis. So, with that being said, as always, take care.